What's up, guys? It is time for part 2 of the cage build on the Cherokee. Saw it last time. I got the rock slider on this side. I went ahead and plated over the rocker with this 1/8 inch thick, 2 inch wide piece of material. So it's just cut to fit and then just kind of stitch welded along. The reason I did that was just to give me something a little more solid to weld to here. Because really, aside from being welded, or going to be welded, back there, you don't really have a whole lot of support out here on the end. So, you know, if a tire were to catch it or something, it wants to pull it down. So that's done. I still got to finish that up on the other side. The whole front clip is off of it in order to do the A-pillar pieces. I got the seats out. I decided not to take out the entire carpet. I got the rear seat out, the front seat's out, the trim off, and I'm just gonna pull the carpet back to give me enough room to put the plates here for the B and the C pillars, which the rear I had the carpet out of anyway. And right now the halo part of the roof is in the other shop with the big welder, and Casey's welding that together, so let's go check that out. Alright guys, we are back at it. I got parts painted. Been working on just painting all this stuff, and it's taking a while to do that. But one thing I did do, well, let me just jump over here and show you this. I did get this side, the rocker plated and the slider on, so that's done. And I've been working on getting the A-pillar fitted here. I think the way this kit's designed, normally the A-pillar would sit further forward and come up, you know, kind of in the middle of the cowl area. But to, you know, kind of keep this thing looking, the gaps looking even, I've moved this back, and because I've cut so much of my fenders, my rock sliders ended up really short, and that gives me clearance for the tire. And so I actually cut the end of this back. I had initially had it out here. I don't know why I did it that way, but I had it all the way out here thinking my fender would go behind it, but it's not going to work that way. So I've cut it back, and then behind that, the body sort of comes out to a point, and it hit this and pushed the tube way out, and it didn't fit right. So I just took a hammer and curved that piece in. I'll pull this off here in a minute and show it to you, but the way this fits looks really good. Obviously it'll come out a little bit at the top, and then we're going to have to re-notch this because it's going to be way too far away from where the cage is actually going to sit. Alright, so this part here, I just took a hammer and started massaging it back because it was out to kind of a point. So it didn't take a whole lot to clear it, but it took a little bit, and really there's nothing on the other side of that I could see it would hurt. So that that's fitted up there, and then like I said, we'll cut the top of the A-pillars off, and I'm gonna add something at the back because you have the B, the C, and you have nothing back here. So you have this entire stretch of cage with nothing supporting it at the back. And what most people have commented on our Instagram and stuff, posting pictures of this, is like, add a D-pillar. You need the extra strength at the back, which I totally get. So somewhere back here, we're gonna come down with a piece and probably just terminate it into the floorboard with a plate, which should put it right on top of the leaf spring perch. So that should be a pretty rigid area. And then one day when this thing gets linked in the back, I'll consider adding some kind of brace over to the frame part of the unibody. All right, we got the roof piece up there. I finally recruited some help. And we have rigged up a stand for the tube notcher because, like I was talking about, the A-pillar, when we set it up there, the end of the A-pillar is way up here. So obviously we got to shorten that up. And this is what we've come up with. We have a borrowed tube notcher. Shout out Todd, Seamless Gutters. And we had nothing to bolt it to, so we got it clamped to one of our tripods. And we're gonna just slowly notch this thing a little bit at a time until we get it where it needs to be.
Do you want to cut that much off to begin with?
I've got a feeling that's not gonna be half enough, but
It's up to you.
yeah, we'll start there.
Worst comes to worst, we got plenty of the two.
Yeah.
Start from scratch.
All right, here we go. Let's turn this down to 1. Somebody better put a foot on this thing. I got a feeling. Well, that don't sound great. All right, we got A-pillar bars fitted. That was a little bit of a chore. We didn't cut anything off the bottom. They're 100% the way they came out of the pack. We just kept trimming away at the top. There's about 30 of these little pieces where we just kept trimming it ½ inch at a time. But they're both on there. All right, we got the A-pillars marked out. And according to the directions straight from XOFab, you basically measure from the center of the factory installed riv nut over 2½ inches, which put my mark here, and then I just marked down beside the tube on each side, and that's how I found my center mark for the hole saw that I'm about to just run straight through the roof of this thing and hope that the B-pillar bar is in a good enough spot that's not in the way of the seat. So here you go. Show the people what we're working with. That's it. The thing of it is, it's either in the right spot or that's going to be a heck of a water leak.
Perforated.
Oh God, that hole's big.
Hey.
Real big.
Well, how's you looking?
That's about where it's going to see it.
She's looking a little big.
How big is big?
Oh yeah, I grabbed a 2-inch hole saw.
You don't. Why?
I wanted to make sure it fit in there good.
Oh, it fit. It fit real well.
We got some play.
Oh, you got plenty of play.
Nothing that a little sealer wouldn't take care of.
Yeah.
We'll probably be. We'll be welding this thing in full.
There it is. It works. Everything looks good. I'd say because we pulled the whole cage back a little bit, that helped a lot because the PRP seats I think are a little wider at the shoulders, and you can't adjust the back, so we were kind of at the mercy of, where does the seat hit it. So I mistakenly drilled a 2-inch hole here, or on the front tube, and so I just did the same on the back because it does give you a little bit of room, and I'm just going to use some body filler, go around that once I'm done. So now we got to set the roof piece back onto the pillars, make sure they line up, and then make sure the A pillars still line up, and then we're ready to weld it together. Alright, so he welded as much as he could on every single piece at the top. Didn't weld anything at the bottom yet, so we could pick the cage up, and we just picked it up and shoved some 2x4s under it to give us just a little bit of space. That's about as far up as it'll go because the shape of the B and C pillars go in and curve, so you can't pick it up real far. But that seems to be enough to be able to get most of it welded all the way around. So the roof piece is entirely welded on, or I guess the A, B, and C pillars are welded to the roof piece. And this piece, this drew out a little bit when it got welded at the top, so I'm just going to push it back while it puts the weld on it.
Get them in.
Looks like it's as far in and back as it'll go.
Right there it is.
Now everything's welded up. This part I have not been looking forward to particularly because I got to cut the fenders now to fit around this. They got to be cut at the top, and most likely, well, I'm definitely going to have to cut some at the bottom. I'm just not sure how I'm going to do it yet. I have some cardstock or like poster board material that I'm going to use to make a template. And once I feel confident that I have a good shape cut, I'll transfer this to the fender and cut it out and hope that it's in the right spot. The way this bar runs and the way the fender's shaped, the fender's going to need almost like a very narrow, sort of like teardrop shape cut into it, because the bar is going to be out of the fender starting probably about here where the body line is. So the cut can't just be a circle at the top, or like run a hole saw bit through it. It's got to be cut down to let the tube come out. So this is going to take definitely a little bit of work to get this right, but I'm just going to try to do it slow and a little bit at a time, so I don't end up with this huge honking gap. But we'll see how this goes. Like, this thing's gonna have to be cut all the way down. Basically here. I've ditched the paper idea. There's just too many variables trying to get any kind of template made. I've just set the fender up here and held the fender into place and kind of eyeballed the center of this, marked that on the fender, and then I did make another template with just a 3/4 inch or 1 3/4 inch half circle, and then measured from here out to the edge of the pipe, or out to the edge of the DOM. And I'm just gonna slowly work through this, I guess, and just take a little bit as I go, because I just don't want to cut too much or cut in the wrong place and end up with some huge gap. So this is what I'm doing. It's probably going to take a while to do this way, but I really don't know what else to do. I didn't talk through that at all because, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was just kind of trying to figure that out as I go. I think where I may have messed up is, though, the bar isn't going to sit here. The bar is going to sit more in here. So this taper is going to be a lot steeper. So what I would need to do is actually measure over, because I had already figured this part out. The bar would be roughly 2 1/4 inches to the outside edge. So I finally got to a point where I just decided to stop measuring and start cutting. So got it laid out where I thought was close, and I just ran the hole saw bit through it this way. Now I'm just going to cut my straight lines here and then put it up there and see what it looks like. Here's how I'm doing this. Basically, I cut into it like you saw, got it to where it would kind of start going on there. I cut this back too far on my initial cut, but it is what it is. You're not going to notice that much because it's kind of going to be behind the cage here. But I'm basically just set it up there, push it up, get it, you know, kind of where I think it needs to sit. And then I'll take a marker and go, okay, so we're making a little bit of contact here, and then we need to come on down like that and just kind of inching it away. And I'm probably going to end up cutting all the way down to about here, but well, actually I'm not even cutting it. I'm taking a flat disc sideways and just working it down through there, because this is so thin. A decent flat disc cuts right through that. So it's a slow process, but I think the fit in the end will be better doing it this way. Alright, that took quite a while to do, but after a lot of grinding and putting the fender on and off about 30 times, I finally got a fit that's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I totally messed this up. My first cut was too far that way, and I ended up with this gap here, but I'll just put some black paint behind that. Maybe you'll never see it. But this looks really good. That I just kept putting it up there, marking it, grinding it, and then down here, the back of the fender is just tucked in behind this plate that I added. And then I've just cut this out around. So that fits in there pretty good. The gap here is a little tight, but hopefully when I put all the hardware in it, I can square this thing up a little bit. So, man, that took a while, and it's getting late, but I think I'm going to get started on the other side, just see what kind of progress I can make. Hopefully, I'm going to take some measurements. As long as the cage is in like super close in relation to the body on the other side, which it should be, then I should be able to just make a template off of this side and overlay that to the other side and get it really close and not have to be on and off with the fender so many times. So yeah, that's that. we'll get the other side knocked out, and then I'll show you guys what this thing looks like when it's actually put back together completely. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up part 2 and the final part of the roll cage build. There's a few things that I'm going to add to the cage. I'm going to do like a lower windshield spreader. I think we already talked about that before. I still got to add the harness bar and the support bar between the C pillars, and then whatever I decide to do for a D pillar, I still got to do that. Probably won't do a video on that. That's just going to be a couple of small things that I'll add at some point. So thanks for watching, guys. Like always, if you have any questions or comments, leave those below. Send us a message on Instagram or hit us up on Facebook, and maybe one day we'll see you out on the trail. Peace. You keep on.
I didn't know how hot they would be, so I got to get that crock off quick. They got hot, quick. Now we know Crocs are not shop proof.
Yeah.
Well, hell, we knew that anyway.
Now the white nose, I think is what he's trying to say. God. Too much.
You didn't turn it up, did you?
Yeah.